this video, we are going to cover what it means to be a church, incorporated, and most importantly, unincorporated. I get a lot of questions about the differences between churches and ministries, faith-based organizations, and standard private membership associations. So I'm going to break it down even further than in some of my previous videos. This video, we're going to start with churches. What does it mean to be a church? A church has a distinct legal existence. A church has members. They most often have an established place of worship. They've got regular congregations, regular religious services. They probably have a Sunday school or kids program. They've got a preparation for members. They've got ordained ministers, and those ordained ministers are selected after completing prescribed courses of study. That gives you an idea of what it means to be a church. Now we're going to have a neat conversation about corporation, the body of Christ as a church, and then an unincorporated church. So this will be all mixed in, and I will of course put these links below. I'm referencing some really great material that I ran across, as well as the material from PMA Power. This is an overview, but we want to look at the church and incorporation, and we're not meant to criticize anybody or anything, but we just want to look at this avoidance of the rendering unto Caesar, so that's the government, what is due to Caesar. So that's a little conversation around 10 taxes. What exactly is incorporation, and what really happens to a church that becomes incorporated? Are there biblical principles against incorporation? We must define the word corporation. In everyday description, corporation is a group of people combined into or acting as one body, and that word is derived from the Latin word corpus, which means body. Maybe you remember in one of my earlier videos talking about corporations being corporations, and especially as we see them in the world today. But in the Christian church really is a corporation. It is the corpus Christi, the body of Christ. It derives its existence and authority from its head, the risen and victorious Son of God. So the church could be considered a corporation. However, we are subject to just the laws of Christ, the laws of God, when you're talking about the body of Christ as a corporation. A corporation, as a governmental entity, is a creature of the state. If you've ever filed for an LLC, you know you file with the Secretary of State. Corporation, it's presumed to be incorporated for the benefit of the public. Very important for our conversation. It receives certain special privileges and franchises and holds them subject to the laws of the state and the limitation of its charter. Its powers are limited by law. It can make no contract not authorized by its charter, so authorized by the state. Its rights to act as a corporation are only preserved to it as it obeys the laws of its creation, the state. There is a reserved right in the legislature to investigate its contracts and ascertain if it has exceeded its powers. This is from Hale versus Hinkle, which is one of our favorite case laws to look into in the conversation about private membership associations. A corporation derives its existence and all of its powers from the state, and therefore has only such powers as the state has conferred upon it. Power is used here to mean the legal capacity to execute and fulfill the objects and purposes for which the corporation was created, and the source of this power is the charter and the statute under which the corporation was organized. This is from Len Young Smith, G. Gale Robertson Smith and Robertson's Business Law. Little side note, a corporation is created by and derives its existence from the state. In contrast, a church, the church, is created by, a creature of, derives its existence from, and is subject to and obeys the law of Jesus Christ. If you file for a 501 C1A, then you now are a creature of the state, which we watched happen as churches closed because they were subject to those rules and laws of the state in which they reside or held their membership or their physical entity, the building, the church. When you have an unincorporated church, it would be under the 508, which is not subject to any filing, any record keeping. It is outside of the public jurisdiction and governed by the laws of God. We want to make that distinction about what a church is, an unincorporated church. And remember, we're not filing anything with the state or anyone else. We are obeying only the laws of God. So if you're looking to start or open an actual church and have services and one physical location, or you could have many physical locations under the same church, this should help. You can have an unincorporated church under the 508. Next week, we're going to look at what defines a ministry and unincorporated ministries. I hope you enjoyed this. Please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video and this channel, as well as look for my new playlist with the subject of physical, mental, and emotional health. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.